Welcome to Organizational History and Leadership. Today, I just want to take a brief moment and introduce myself. I'd like to talk a little bit about the course and hopefully set some context for how and why this course is what it is and why it's part of the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning degree program. First off, who am I? Well, my name is Mark Vermillion. I'm the chair for the Department of Sport Management, and I'm also the director of the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning degree program. As you might be aware, I was asked to create this Bachelor's of Applied Science degree here at WSU by former President Bardot before he passed away. He wanted a degree program that connected with people, connected their academic training with real-world scenarios, and he wanted a degree program that would meet the needs of employers and students. So taking that as the background, my academic training is in a variety of different disciplines: history, sociology, criminology, industrial and organizational psychology. But it's really this organizational sociology. That's the framework that influences not just this particular course, but that's also really come to symbolize it as a major explicit influence for the degree in and of itself. Because what it does is the degree has developed in such a way so that it's an organizational studies and leadership degree. My professional background prior to matriculating to higher education involved industrial and organizational psychology, public administration, law enforcement, leadership training development, those types of things. If you're not in the Workforce Leadership and Applied Learning degree program, then all of this might be a little bit more of an introduction than you need. But for those of you that are part of the degree program, I think it's important to really see how all of these ideas start to flow together. In particular to this particular class, though, I'm a huge fan of combining ideas. I love different concepts, different frameworks, and trying to combine them in a way that we can not just solve problems, but really analyze and address social or cultural needs. It's relatively simple for me. People are very complex things. Organizations are complex entities. The problems involving these beings and entities are exceedingly complex. As a result, though, the solutions should be complex, right? If you're dealing with complex problems, then you're going to have complex solutions. Yet so many people want simple and prescriptive solutions to these very multifaceted problems. That's fine. However, to me, that does not make a lot of sense. So my overall goal for this class is to really help students to better understand a particular skill set or tool that students can use to be more impactful leaders. And ultimately, that tool is going to involve understanding an organization's past, their story, and the context. Before we get into all that, though, every class I've ever taught, whether it's an intro to sociology course, or if it's an ethics course at the graduate level, or anything like that, I always start off with this idea from Plato, the Greek philosopher. And he said, knowledge is the intersection of truth and belief. And knowledge is one of those things that people look to attain from higher education. We know it's not the only place that you can attain knowledge, but that's one of the things that we try to provide. That's the value that we provide students and practitioners and our partners, is knowledge. Well, if we take part of that building block for knowledge is truth. And truth is akin to facts, the immutable social and physical laws of the known world. That one's pretty easy. It's going to involve social scientific or scientific methods, that type of thing. Belief is the awareness and understanding that the truth that you or other people have discovered really does impact you, your ideas, your decisions, and ultimately for us and what we're trying to do in this degree program and this particular class, is it going to impact your leadership? And belief is often harder than truth to really wrap your mind around, because what it really does is it forces us to challenge or question sometimes currently held beliefs. And this is where growth starts to happen, is through challenging some of those beliefs and trying to better your skill sets moving forward. So we know that knowledge is key then to demonstrating impact. And again, we're going to keep this idea of leadership as the foundation for everything that we do in this course. Even though it has the word organization or the phrase organizational history and things like that, it's really about connecting it with leadership. So we need to better understand the context for how and why history has become a tool for organizational leaders. That's how we're going to bring all of this together. This is how the dominoes work to move forward. While serving as the senior editor for the Harvard Business Review in 1986, Alan Cantrow interviewed prominent executives and organizational leaders. He wrote this, it's a very brief article, it's only about 6 or 7 pages, and it was called Why History Matters to Managers. And essentially what he did was he discussed this idea of organizational history with organizational leaders. And the result was this profound revelation that really has influenced and put forth the notion of organized historical analysis. His context or reasoning for the interviews is as follows. To what extent has practice become riddled by the curse of easy formulas? How far has the temptation of the quick fix distorted complex choices? In what fashion has the impulse to view future conditions as a simple extrapolation of present trends played havoc with today's decisions? A changed, competitive world has made answering these and many other such questions a matter of no small urgency. Continuing, on this task, the study and teaching of history have helped shed much light. If the quality of executives' judgment is to improve, and if executives are to be able to draw with confidence and intelligence on the experience of others, they must first know how to read the lessons embedded in that experience. Here, as the discussants show in a variety of ways, lies the value of history in management and in management education. What Cantrow was really trying to do is set the context for us. And he put forth a very, very simple reality that guides, at its core, this particular course. Leaders need to know the complex social, technological, political, and economic realities of when, how, and why decisions have been, are, or were made. Using that as the springboard for everything in this class, we want to capitalize on this notion of holistic development. Within higher education, we have gen eds. Many of you have had to deal with gen eds and you've been taking them for maybe a number of years. But the rationale that we in higher education have put forth for these general education requirements is that they really help to support the holistic development of students. So the more an organizational leader knows about the world in which their organizations are embedded, then the better prepared they are to make sound, impactful decisions. And this is something that's at the core of not just this course, not just this program, but also higher education in general. And that's learning. Being able to take ideas that you've been exposed to in other situations, scenarios, and contexts, marinate on them, think about them, and then apply them to different situations. We are going to study the basics of history and leadership. And we're doing that with an eye towards amalgamating these skill sets to really either grow or further refine your personal leadership development strategies, approaches, and theories. We're going to use case studies. We're going to use academic ideas. We're going to draw from multimedia sources of information. And ultimately what we're going to do is try to be creative. And we're going to do this because we want to connect. The ultimate goal of this class is to connect understanding an organization's story, their history, with leadership. You will then be able to take that and move forward in your personal careers. Okay, I'm not actually done. I say final words, and then I actually have one more final word because it's kind of off track here. And it's simply enthusiasm. I absolutely adore this type of information. And I hope you can enjoy this class as well. History to me is simply a story. And stories are the most powerful and influential learning modalities that we as humans have because we've been exposed to them throughout our entire lives. They're easy for our brain to process. And in my view, history courses have gotten a bad rap over the years because history is not just about names and dates. And oftentimes students develop anxiety because they're so busy trying to memorize the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 and all this kind of stuff. But here in this class, the way we want to approach it is there's a sense of chronology, yes. Some, aspect A has to happen before aspect B, and then aspect C can happen because aspect B happened before it, and so on and so forth. There's a sense of linearity to all of these different things. But we can tell that story in a creative way. There's not another class at this university that's going to do what we are about to do in this class, and I'm very excited about that because that really makes us not just pioneers, but collaborators. We're partners in this endeavor. And as we start to move forward, hopefully I will be able to share some stories with you. Hopefully you're going to be able to apply what you've learned. And hopefully you'll be able to share things with me because the idea of learning is not a unilateral thing. It's a dialectical relationship to me. And oftentimes I learn as much, if not more, from my students than they learn from me. And I take great pride in that, and that's extremely meaningful to me. So moving forward, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, then please let me know, because as I said before, we are going to be co-conspirators, we're going to be collaborators as we start moving forward in this particular course. If there's anything I can do, please reach out, and I will get back with you as soon as I can.